Lost Dog, Part 3, by KB Hurst. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. I kept trying to figure out who that woman was on the other end of the phone. Why had she called me? Just to taunt me? I would have never bothered with the number had I not been investigating my own sister's disappearance. I was worried and afraid that Detective Phelps would show up at my door again, since I had spoken to that woman at the same telephone number as they were tracking. Even so, I still didn't want to bother him about the phone call. Something was off about it, and she was targeting me specifically. I had to know what was going on. Growing more niche. Together, we walked around the neighborhood and through the park until I could gather enough mental capacity to comprehend the oddity that was my life. There weren't a lot of people out to disturb me walking early in the morning. The sun had broken, barely, just above the clouds. I walked along, replaying everything in my brain, still unsure as to why the Amanda person, or who I had assumed was Amanda Klein, had reached out to me after my initial phone call. It was a separate mystery from Ellie's disappearance. I turned a corner near the park by my house when I saw something odd. The sun was hitting something in front of me, causing it to shine, and when I got closer, I realized it was another missing dog poster, this time brand new. I looked at the number on the poster and my stomach felt sick, but also, I grew hopeful. The telephone number was the same as the one on Amanda Klein's missing poster except for the last digit in the telephone number. Was I crazy thinking it was connected? I looked around and saw there were other posters. The photo of the dog on the sign was generic and could have easily been taken off the internet. Even the description of the dog on the poster and how it became missing was generic. Millie, female, poodle mix, black, last seen near Grayson Park, Saturday, November 9th, 2018. If you have any information, any at all, please call telephone number 330-555-6741. I looked around and then picked up the poster, realizing that it was too laminated. I wondered if I should tell Detective Phelps. I decided to keep it to myself for now. I wasn't sure about the telephone number. It was just too much of a coincidence. I got home and turned on the television. My mom was already up making coffee and met me in the kitchen. "Hungry?" she asked. "Yeah." "Did you go for a walk?" "Yeah, I took Pete." "No, I'm glad. I don't like you going out alone anymore." "I'm glad we have Pete for your protection." She began frying eggs and bacon. I missed this normality with my mom. She sat watching the news and ate in front of the TV. That was something that was never allowed before Ellie went missing. Mom had grown a bit laxer since Ellie's disappearance. A news flash came on and instantly I sat up. "Rachel Simmons has been missing since early Sunday morning. She was last seen in Grayson Park with friends," the news lady was saying on TV. The young girl they were talking about had a similar look to my sister, Ellie. My mom looked away from the television. I knew she was thinking about Ellie. She got up and took our dishes to the kitchen. Grayson Park. I thought. The similarities were too odd, and the girl looked like Ellie. Could those posters have anything to do with the missing girl? I took a deep breath and then pretended to be tired and went back to my room. I called the number on the missing poster. This time I was smart enough and blocked my number so the person receiving the call wouldn't see who the caller was. The telephone rang, and there was no answer. Then as I was about to hang up, the voicemail came on. "Hi, Rachel here. I can't come to the phone, but if you leave your name and number, I'll call you back. Thanks. Bye." I had to be losing my mind. The voice on the other end of the phone was Ellie's. I know her voice anywhere. I didn't want to tell my mom in case I was wrong, but I had to tell someone with authority. Reluctantly, I called Detective Phelps. He answered the phone as gruff as he sounded the day I spoke to him last. When I recounted the story to him, he seemed concerned. He asked if I could meet him somewhere quiet. I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop at the end of our street. It was a small little place, with not much going for it except usually empty, A few students here and there from the nearby college campus. So the person called you Friday evening at what time? 11 or so, sir. Detective Phelps was severe and methodical about his recording of my story. What did the person say? I retold what was said, and he looked at me puzzled for a moment, and then looked down at his notepad. It was old school. He wrote everything down in a tiny notebook and a number 2 pencil. I asked you not to try and take matters into your own hand. Why didn't you call me if you suspected something with the missing girl and a link between your sister? I shrugged. I didn't think you'd believe me. It isn't that I don't believe you, but these types of people can be dangerous. Seriously, you understand that, right? I just want to help find my sister. There was a desperation in my voice that he seemed to empathize with me. He took a deep breath, rubbing his chin. Do me a favor. If you want to help out, let me know if you find any other clues. I'm not saying go off on your own and start another investigation, but if you see or notice anything strange, don't hesitate to let me know. He stood and patted my shoulder. Jack, we'll find your sister. I nodded. I had not lost hope. Later that week, I was studying for my math exam in study hall when I saw a girl standing outside of my classroom. She had long dark hair and was wearing a plain pink t-shirt. She had her head slightly away from me. But if I had to guess, it was my sister, Ellie. I bolted for the door of my classroom, and when she saw me, she disappeared into the bathroom. I didn't wait. I just went in. 2 girls were in there yelling at me. This isn't the unisex bathroom. What do you fucking think you're doing? Look, did you see a girl wearing a pink t-shirt run in here? They looked at each other and shook their heads. There was a stall door at the end of the bathroom that someone was in, and I peeked down and saw a girl's shoes. I didn't care if I upset the person. I peeked under the door. It wasn't Ellie, but a girl screamed. She was holding out a tampon. Sorry, I yelled and ran back out. I know my sister, unless I was suddenly going crazy. I got home and my parents had not made it there yet. Brianna was sitting on the porch. I walked up to her. Hey, I looked down at her. Something happened to me today, but you won't believe it. She had tears running down her face. What is it? Ellie called me. I looked down at my sister. I believed her. I believe you, Bree. She said, Bree, stop trying to find me. There was something in her voice. I don't know. What? Tell me, Brianna. She sounded like she didn't care. She sounded like she was mad at me. It wasn't Ellie then. Ellie would never be that way. No, Jack. It was Ellie. But it couldn't have been Ellie. Our sister was found 2 days later. They said that whoever killed our sister probably drugged her, sexually assaulted her, and then, to add insult to injury, burnt her, most likely while she was still alive. There were no real remains of her body except for teeth that were found at the crime scene. My parents were dead to the world once they received the news of my sister's murder. Our lives would never be the same again. A dark cloud hung over, raining upon us day after day. Nothing was ever the same again. That was nearly a year ago now. Then something happened the other day that made me take pause. I was sitting at my desk studying for my science class at the local university. My life had gotten back to normal for the most part. I got a message on my phone that it was time to go to work. My buddy, Aaron, had helped me get a part-time job working the night shift at the local gas station in town. If Aaron didn't remind me, I often got too into my studies and forgot to go into work on time. He worked the second shift and I worked the third shift, like 2 shifts in the night. We had just enough time to catch up as he was leaving and I was arriving. I grabbed my book bag and my car keys and headed out the door. I managed to change my clothes when I got to the gasoline alley, and as I walked towards the door, I saw Aaron. He smirked when he saw me. Hey, Jim said we don't have to stack tonight. I looked at him shocked, because Tuesday nights were always the nights I got stuck stacking the beer in the back. Why? Shipment didn't come in today. Guess tomorrow it'll be here. So tomorrow it is. That night shift staff's issue. He laughed, and we high-fived each other, and Aaron left me alone for my third shift. I could use a break for once, so I pulled out my biology book and got comfortable. Tuesday nights were always dull. It was just after midnight, and I put the "Be right back in 5" sign on the counter. I was walking towards the back when I saw a reflection in the glass window. I turned around, expecting to see a customer walking up to the counter. Instead, the person who I identified as a young woman walked over to the board we had on a wall over by the magazine rack. She was hanging up a poster. I looked at her. She was tall and thin and had stringy blonde hair. I couldn't help but stare at her. There was something about her. I didn't want to hover, but I looked over her shoulder from where I was standing at the counter. "Can I help you?" The woman didn't say anything, and after hanging the poster, she walked out. I shrugged it off. I needed to piss real bad, but then something made me walk over to see what it was. I wish I could tell you how I felt looking at it. I felt like I was living in some kind of episode of The Twilight Zone. I'm sure you've guessed by right now. It was a lost dog poster, laminated, just as the others had been. There in front of me was a photo of my sister, Ellie, holding a white Bichon, long blonde hair now instead of dark hair. But unless it was a ghost, it was my sister Ellie.